I'm so excited about the topic of this video. I just have a cup of green tea, so I'm just gonna sip on this maybe throughout this video. Uh, so I have some literature that I wanted to sort of discuss and share some of the topics in it, because I'm actually doing a thesis now, and it's for a bachelor degree, and it is concerning like neoliberalism, yoga, and consumer culture. So in regards to those topics, I actually wanted to share some, information to you, that I hope you know these things, but if you don't know, then I'm just here to sort of share it. So in the society context that we have today, we are like viewed as consumers. We are consuming our ways towards different aims. We might say that, okay, health is or type of utopian aim to achieve. So we have like a path, that we can consume to reach towards that sort of aim that we are setting for ourselves. So we are like, if there's any risks or something along the way of achieving that specific goal, we are bearing the responsibility for those risks as individual consumers. And with regards to like discussing this in a little bit in relation to yoga as well, I mean, as you probably know, that yoga is something today that is so like, it's so like everywhere. You can find yoga stuff, and there's like a whole industry of yoga. Like so much money is spent on yoga activities, and like items and stuff, and that might be wonderful. It's wonderful that people are investing towards self-development and stuff, but certain of the goals that you can sort of achieve through yoga and stuff, if you setting your mind towards like self-development, increasing your value for the future, those things are totally aligned with the neoliberal type of discourse, like the whole way that we are perceiving the reality and what the reality through the societies that want us to sort of do and like strive towards. So neoliberalism is very complicated to sort of set into a definition, and I'm not actually going to try and define it. I think you can do your own research on it, but it is something that is so influential today, and it has to do with the way that everything is functioning, how we have the society structure, and sort of the ways that we as individual citizens or like just beings are sort of directed in certain ways, towards consuming things to achieve something that we perceive as a freedom of choice. But all of the problems that comes with the way that capitalists, like big companies, consuming a lot of resources, problems that are arising from their sort of activity on the earth, problems that are arising from political actors and their actions, such as war and stuff. All of these things that are happening, and as well on the local context on a society level, it's actually we as individuals are expected to consume solutions individually that are like not caused by me as an individual just solely, but by these bigger type of organizations and stuff that are sort of operating in the world. So we become sort of, we become trapped in this system, because if I am affected by pollution from the cars, then it's like the society expects me to consume solutions that are towards a health utopia, like to consume, invest my resources and stuff into such solutions, And if I spending all of my resources towards, let's say, yoga, that's like good, it might sort of develop myself, but it also drawing all the resources and items and stuff that I possibly could sort of look and say, okay, well, could like my lifestyle and could everyone else's lifestyle sort of work, so we don't have to just consume or waste towards utopian type of goals, but maybe we could have some other form of like way of leading our life, so we don't have to be affected by these health dangers and like, you know, negative sort of impactors, you know, that are surrounding us, you know. So it's important because yoga as sort of an instrument, you know, like in the neoliberal type of ideology or like discourse that we have in the society, it's actually sort of supporting the practice of yoga just because you will be like discipline. You can, the discipline that you learn through yoga, like the instrument that yoga could be used as, it could sort of make you to a perfect type of subject of neoliberal type of capitalistic subject. Like you can become this perfect consumer through it doing yoga, but that's not great, you know, because you become arrogant, you become ignorant, and you become like very self-absorbed, and you're focusing all your attention towards increasing your own value of the future. And the problem here is that consumerism is as a phenomena and as a form of action, you know, we don't have unlimited resources to consume. Like our planet is round, everything that we have here, it's like if we're consuming everything, there at some point there is going to be an end to consumerism in the way that we're doing it now, like by this growth of economic stuff, you know, because economic growth in one part of the world means that there is a lessening of development in another part of the world. You cannot have economic growth here and at the same time have it all other places there, because the resources that goes here must come from somewhere else, so they are like drawn towards one location from another. So that's like, it is not a sustainable type of, you know, of a like development, you know, or like evolution of our world, you know. And that means that when we, I just need to get back to the thread here where I was going to go with this, like when we as consumers and we practicing yoga, and we're taking in these types of, you know, focus on our future, you know, my future, and to add like value to my future. But if we have consumed up all of the resources by like certain date ahead of time, then what's happening after that date? What like, all, if I have education about, let's say, how the economic system of growth is functioning, if I have that knowledge, you know, if I have knowledge about the bureaucratic systems, you know, if everything is only till a certain end date, you know, then this type of knowledge that we have of how the society currently today is operating is not going to be valid after that final date when there is nothing else to consume, you know. And that means that we will be standing at some point somewhere and be like, okay, what do we do now? We don't know anything else than this neoliberal type of ideology. And it's so powerful because most people today, we say that people have a subjective type of perception of the world. Like, you have your own sort of experience and your individual way of perceiving the things that you have around you and what's happening to you. But with all of this neoliberalism that is sort of infiltrating into how we are perceiving the world, that we feel that if I want to be part of a group, I need to consume my way towards becoming a part of that. Like, citizenship today is about consuming your way into a citizenship. If you want to be successful, you know, there's like a path towards maybe consuming your way towards that, you know. And if everything, you know, that we do today is just focused on increasing my individual value of the future, then all of the resources that could be put on, like, you know, thinking about, okay, So we have a problem. You know, there is this system of consumerism. It is not going to last forever. So what are we going to do then? You know, should we like continue like this? You have the environment, you know, movements and stuff. They're like saying, okay, we need to do something. We need to do something for the environment and stuff. But you know, it's also about targeting the right actors in this dilemma. I mean, when it concerning like environment and stuff, you have these transnational organizations that are, you know, drawing resources from one part of the world towards another part and sort of just accumulating it somewhere, you know, and then spending the resources on such things that are kind of destructing again that other part of the world, you know. And at the end of the day, there is a limit to how much you can extract out of the world, because we live on a round planet. It's not like, you know, it's not adding more into this roundness. There is like a limit, you know. When we have taken away everything from the mother earth, or from the earth, whatever we want to call this, you know, there is nothing else, you know. So what are we going to consume, you know? So if I have taken all my attention on just trying to add value towards my, like, to make myself attractive for investors in the future, because that's what we're doing with the universities and like with different things that we're doing today. Maybe, you know, I try to strive learning new things. And what is that actually? It is a form of trying to add value to my future self, you know. I need to drink some tea. And when I adding value towards my future self, it means that I trying to utilize everything in myself, exploiting myself, you know, in such ways that other investors, you know, will in the future sort of be interested in investing in me. And this is what everyone is doing, you know. So it's not just me, but this is like the neoliberal type of society discourse. This is what it is sort of aiming at, you know, exploiting the individual, ensuring that you're focusing your resources on investing towards your future self. We don't know even if this future self is gonna have any, you know, usage of the things that you're learning in this present moment. Like, as I said, if I learn everything about economic growth, and economic growth is from the starting point, it is a limited sort of practice, because we don't have endless amounts of resources to consume, you know. So if I learning only about that, and the limits of that economic growth sort of evolution is here, and my future sort of value that I'm trying to achieve in the present right here is over here, then what's going to happen in this space, you know? What do we have here, you know, after the economic growth, after the consumerism, after the neoliberalism has sort of influenced our brain, a way of thinking, and we find ourselves, there's nothing else to consume, and all I know and have learned is economic growth. What do I have on the other side right here in the future? Like, my value is not going to increase, you know. This is also a myth, you know, in this whole way, because, you know, can you really add value to yourself, you know, from the starting point? Like, you are person, we say that, oh, okay, ethical type of thing is that everyone has the same value, everyone is equal to one another. So if everyone is equal to one another, and there is still this in neoliberalism, like strive towards your highest potential, and this is even in some type of religions and stuff. And I want to touch on religion as well, because I have studied now about religion, so I have a lot of knowledge about the problems of that concept in particular. But I think I will make a second video about that, or a part 2 of that video, and because I have some books as well that I want to recommend to you. But it's just like, where do we end with this, you know? That's like what I'm sort of wondering, you know, because there's a limit to consumerism, you know. There is a limit to how much we can sort of economically grow one accumulated part of the world. And the thing is that when we are like investing our time or resources or financial means towards such things that are absorbing our concentration and our energy and everything, we are not investing towards finding alternatives or like solutions to the problems that we are facing, you know. We don't invest towards anything that can be, you know, here in the future, that actually can, I mean, be like a transitional type of thing for this consumers. We don't have anything here, you know. I don't know what we will find in this space, you know. Maybe someone who is super wealthy, who has accumulated it and drawn all of the resources from one part of the world to their own hands, might fly out in the space and go and live some other planet. I don't know, you know, in that specific future after this economic growth has sort of ended, you know. Because as I said, look at the Earth. If you believe it is a round planet, roundness, it's not going to become bigger. It's not, the Earth itself is not growing. Limited resources, you know, for what we actually can consume. And I think you can see today, like, because when we are studying in the university and stuff, I mean, it's great to learn things, you know, it's great to learn, but the things that we are learning may not have any value in the future. And as I said, can I add value to myself, you know? Because it means that I would have to view myself as a something that is not fully of value today, you know. I'm not really able to do that. I don't think so, you know. Maybe some people say you can, you know, in a sort of, I don't want to bring in the spiritual aspect in this, you know, in this video, but I mean, if you think about, you know, achieving certain goals, you know, that I was talking about, that you're trying to consume your way, a path towards a certain specific goal, which maybe not even be able to reach. Actually, health, this, because I have studied health now, I'm doing a master in health, but there is no optimal, like, fully space where you just will reach and be like, okay, I'm in a good health now and forever, I'm in a good health. No, health is something that is like, it's so fluid that it will always change for the entire period that you are alive, and it will mainly be affected by the environment that you have around you, you know, because you are part of the environment, you know. So everything that is around you is going to affect you. But in a neoliberal society, they want you as an individual to be responsible of all the risks that is on the path towards achieving that utopian type of health that is not even existing. And the fact that you along the way will be affected by all these, let's say, pollutions in the environment, war, criminal action, whatever you maybe have on the path, you have to find some other solution and consume that specific service or product or goods, whatever, you know. So you will invest your resources on trying to survive in this frame of all these things that you cannot really control externally of yourself, you know, that are sort of impacting you. And that means that you are not changing the actual problems in themselves, you know, because you are just trying to achieve your own path here and investing in these small solutions to these actual political systems, that not just political system but just the whole society, the systems that we have, you know, in how they are operating and causing problems. So it means like we don't have any other way of perceiving the reality. We don't know, is there any options, you know, what are the options to, let's say, bureaucratic system, what are the options to using cars to get around, what is the options of, you know, consumerism, what is the options of neoliberalism, what can we do instead, you know, how can we find something that is sustainable, not just in my, you know, within my lifespan, but within like the generations to come. Because here I'm like in my 20s, you know, but there are people who has lived in the previous generation and are still living, you know, and they have reached really long, like really high age, you know, they are really old, you know, we perceive them as very old. But there is like me, probably I'm never going to get up to that age, you know, because once all the resources that can be spent on medical, like technological forms of solutions towards reaching that high age, when those resources are spent, I am, as a person, I'm not going to be able to reach to that high age that these previous generations have done, you know. And it means that where did where did the financial means come from, you know, to spend on all of that medical equipment and stuff, you know. It must come from the earth, you know, because that's where we're getting the fundamental value from, you know. And that means that when there's like loans, when we take loans for something, we are consuming something that needs to be extracted from the earth in a future scenario to sort of, you know, be able to compensate for those financial loans, because financial loans are just like, it's something that we are taking from the future. So it means that we have consumed part of the generations of the future, we have consumed their resources. They will not have the same amount of resources to consume as this sort of generations that has lived to a very long age, you know, and consume so much resources to sustain themselves, you know. And this is something we should be concerned about, you know. I'm gonna make a part 2 because I want to recommend some literature, and I want to connect this whole topic into yoga, and also discuss a little bit about the concept religion and how that also is something we should be careful when we're actually using.